The letter arrived with the Friday afternoon post, a thick envelope from the New South Wales Independent Commission Against Corruption ICAC. For many, such a missive would be a cause for immediate panic, a cold dread settling in the stomach. But for Angela Jones-Blaney, a senior manager at Parramatta Council, it was the culmination of months of whispers, of sidelong glances in the council corridors, and the growing uncomfortable awareness that the walls were closing in. This wasn't just a professional setback, it was an investigation into the very fabric of trust within a community institution. And it threatened to unravel everything she and her colleagues had built, or so they thought. This story begins in the sprawling, vibrant heart of Western Sydney, in the local government area of Parramatta, a place of booming development, diverse communities, and like any rapidly growing urban centre, a place where the stakes are high, and the power to influence decisions carries immense weight. Our central figures are a trio of women who occupied influential roles within the council: Gail Connolly, the former chief executive; Roxanne Thornton, a senior executive; and Angela Jones-Blaney herself, another high-ranking manager. These three, according to later revelations, formed a tight-knit alliance, allegedly referring to themselves internally as the Pink Ops. They were on the surface respected professionals, entrusted with the day-to-day operations and strategic direction of a major council responsible for millions of dollars in ratepayers' money and countless public services. Their lives before the ICAC inquiry began were defined by the steady rhythm of council meetings, budget allocations, and the constant hum of a bustling organisation. Many of them had worked their way up, dedicating years to public service, believing they were contributing to the betterment of their community. But beneath the surface of professional decorum, a different kind of operation was allegedly taking shape, one that would eventually draw the attention of the state's most powerful anti-corruption body. The allegations that ultimately triggered the ICAC investigation were serious, painting a picture of systemic favouritism and a blatant disregard for established recruitment protocols. It was claimed that between 2018 and 2021 the Pink Ops trio, leveraging their positions, actively manipulated the hiring and promotion processes within Parramatta Council. The core accusation was that they subverted merit-based selections to ensure their friends and preferred candidates secured lucrative roles, often bypassing more qualified applicants. Imagine the frustration, the sheer injustice for someone who has diligently prepared for an interview, met all the criteria, only to discover later that the game was rigged from the start. This wasn't merely about one or two instances. The inquiry heard evidence of a pattern of behavior. Recruitment panels were allegedly stacked with compliant members. Job descriptions were tailored to fit pre-selected individuals, and even external recruiters were seemingly pressured to favor certain candidates. One particularly damning example cited during the hearings involved a senior management position, where a candidate, despite a less impressive interview performance, was allegedly pushed through due to their connections with the Pink Ops. This kind of behavior, if proven, doesn't just damage individual careers, it erodes public trust in the integrity of local government, the very institution designed to serve the community without fear or favour. It's a direct affront to the Australian concept of a fair go. Beyond recruitment, there were also claims of targeted reprisals against staff who raised concerns or were perceived as disloyal. Witnesses spoke of an environment where dissent was stifled, and some employees even alleged they were subjected to surveillance, an extraordinary claim within a public service organisation. The precise dates and individuals involved became critical pieces of the puzzle for ICAC. The investigation focused on specific departmental restructures, key hiring decisions and the flow of internal communications that might reveal the extent of the alleged influence. The total financial implications, while difficult to precisely quantify, included the salaries of potentially unqualified staff, the costs of repeated recruitment processes, and the immeasurable damage to staff morale and productivity. It was a slow creep and insidious erosion of proper governance until it reached a point where it could no longer be ignored. The legal action taken was significant: a public inquiry by the New South Wales Independent Commission Against Corruption, or ICAC. This isn't a court in the traditional sense, but a powerful investigative body with the authority to hold public hearings, compel witnesses and make findings of corrupt conduct. The inquiry, dubbed Operation Quamby, commenced its public hearings in Sydney, drawing considerable media attention. The stakes were incredibly high, not just for the individuals involved whose professional reputations and livelihoods hung in the balance, but for the integrity of local government across New South Wales. ICAC's role is to expose and investigate corrupt conduct in the New South Wales public sector and then to make recommendations for prosecution or disciplinary action. The arguments presented by ICAC's counsel were meticulously detailed. They laid out a narrative of a tightly controlled inner circle operating with an alleged disregard for the principles of transparency and fairness that underpin public service. Evidence included internal emails, text messages, council meeting minutes, and the testimony of numerous witnesses, both those who were allegedly favored and those who claimed to have been victimized. Lawyers representing Connolly Thornton and Jones Blaney presented their defense, challenging the interpretations of the evidence and arguing that their clients had acted within their authority, or that any perceived irregularities were simply operational missteps rather than deliberate corruption. The cross-examination of witnesses was often intense, with counsel seeking to discredit testimony or to demonstrate alternative explanations for the alleged conduct. The inquiry delved deep into the nuances of council policy, the procedures for hiring and the subtle ways power can be exercised and abused. The concept of corrupt conduct under the ICAC Act is broad, encompassing not just criminal acts but also any conduct that adversely affects the honest and impartial exercise of official functions. This was what ICAC sought to prove, that the actions of the Pink Ops group had fundamentally compromised the impartiality of Parramatta Council. The weight of public expectation, the scrutiny of the media and the very real possibility of adverse findings meant that the tribunal battle, while not a criminal trial, felt every bit as consequential. The resolution, or at least the initial phase of it, came with the findings and recommendations published by ICAC. After months of public hearings and careful deliberation, ICAC made a series of damning findings. It concluded that Gail Connolly, Roxanne Thornton and Angela Jones Blaney had engaged in serious corrupt conduct. Specifically, ICAC found that they had colluded to subvert recruitment processes, appointed favored individuals to positions they were not best qualified for, and misused confidential information. The inquiry also found that Connolly had sought to obstruct the investigation itself, a further serious breach of public trust. The outcome for the individuals involved was severe. ICAC recommended that the advice of the Director of Public Prosecutions be sought regarding potential criminal charges against all three women, including misconduct in public office and giving false or misleading evidence to the Commission. While the ultimate decision on prosecution rests with the DPP, these recommendations alone are a career-ending blow effectively barring them from future public service. Beyond the individuals, ICAC also made a series of recommendations to Parramatta Council itself, urging a comprehensive review of its recruitment policies, internal whistleblower protections and governance structures to prevent similar conduct from occurring in the future. The council under new leadership committed to implementing these recommendations was justice served. For those who believed they were unfairly overlooked or targeted, the ICAC findings offered a measure of vindication. For the ratepayers of Parramatta, it was a stark reminder of the importance of robust oversight. But it also highlighted the imperfect nature of such processes, while the findings expose the alleged wrongdoing, the path to full accountability, particularly through the criminal justice system, can